Hey guys, welcome back to the Sami and George Music Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our Desert Island albums.
Do you want to specify, give them the whole prompt, I guess?
Yeah, well, I forgot to mention, this is the episode after spring break. Welcome back. Spring break was great.
It was great.
It's like March 28th. That's important information. Mm-hmm. So, back to the good stuff. Desert Island albums are basically, like if you were trapped on a desert island and you had 3 albums to take with you, like you knew you were going to be airdrops to a desert island or whatever, which 3 albums would you take that you could listen to theoretically until you die of whatever people die on desert islands? And so, yeah, we'll explain our like philosophies about these in a second. But,
yeah, and so normally we do like song recommendations, but since we have a song recommendation from each album, we just decided to skip that part. So this whole show is just going to be us talking about these. We'll each choose 3 albums, which we've already chosen. We're going to talk about them. So you want to go ahead and go first? I don't know what your first album was.
Yeah, I'll lead off. All right, this is going to sit down, dude. This is going to shock y'all.
Okay.
I chose the Beatles album. And then
wait, you like the Beatles?
Oh, didn't I tell you?
Oh, you like the... Wow, really?
Shit, I mean, shoot, dude. So yeah, not only did I pick the Beatles, I picked the Beatles by the Beatles. The Beatles is the name of the White Album. That was a Beatles joke. Killing it. So
you literally explained the joke right after you told it. Also, so that was great.
I mean, I don't think many people know that, like, the White Album is the Beatles.
I didn't even... I mean, I sort of forgot, because I call it the White Album. Yeah. Everyone does, so yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of instinctual. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I think it is their longest album. And so, I'm going to explain my philosophy about this first. So I didn't really choose, like, albums that were important to me or that, like, I have a lot of emotional connection to. I chose albums that are, like, have a lot of song variety on them, that have, like, enough length, and that are in a genre and by an artist that I like. Mm-hmm. So the first, example of that is the Beatles. Mm-hmm. So I think their longest, it was a double album. It's their longest album. This is, I don't know, what do they call that, plural or not? But it has a whole ton of variety. A lot of it was, or more of it was acoustic than they normally do. And there was a lot of, like, instrumentals and, like, violins and horns and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's more of that than there usually is. But there's enough variety. Like, I'm actually, like, the more I talk, the more I think of, like, different, like, types of songs from that album. But I chose one song specifically. And this obviously is not, like, indicative of the entire album, but I think it's a pretty good. It's by Paul, so sliding right into stereotype. But I'll play it and then I'll talk a little bit afterwards.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. The long instrumental intro.
What?
The long instrumental intro.
That wasn't too bad. You can start talking. You don't have to pause.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep going. And we're probably not going to get to it in this song, but, like, about a minute from now, it gets into more of a rock, like, breakdown, I guess, where, like, I think an electric guitar comes in. It gets heavier. It sort of switches from, like, White Album Paul to, like, Hard Day's Night Paul. But I like the song because, A, really good song. I also like piano parts, in case that wasn't... Sorry, in case that wasn't clear. And I think this is not the best song on the album, but I think it's, like, the most, like, White Album quality song on the album. Like, they mostly have, like, the same quality. And I think this is about that quality.
Yeah, sure.
And putting thoughts into words is, like, so difficult sometimes.
Dude, like, come on.
Preaching the
choir.
choir.
You're song too, yeah. Yeah, no, this song, I sort of forgot it existed. I don't listen to the White Album that much. I just remember, like, for you were talking about, like, diversity and, like, the album, and I was thinking of, you can just go ahead. So I was talking about, I was thinking of Julia and Helter Skelter, and those two songs are, incredibly different. Yeah. And those are the two songs that I like from the album, so that's just sort of, like, proof that there is, like, a lot of variety in this. Yeah, Martha, My Dear, like, I remember, like, hearing it once or twice, but I definitely, like, will add it to my playlist, because it's a good song. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about?
I'll probably backtrack a little bit later, but that's all I can think of right now.
Sure. Okay. How do I? Okay. Let's see. The first one I chose. Okay. So this one, another shocker here for you guys. I chose a Car Seat Headrest album, and it's called Twin Fantasy. So there are two versions of this album. One that was made in 2011, where Will Toledo recorded everything and produced everything on his own, and in 2018, where he had like a 7-piece band and like a producer and stuff. Or I think actually he also produced it, but this is also like after he was like signed to a label. I chose the 2018 version. I accidentally got the 2011 version of the song that I like. So it's still, I wouldn't say it proves my point that well because it's a lot more lo-fi, and I don't think people generally like the 2011 album as much. But I mean, at least you get the context of like the song structure. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. Yeah, I'm gonna skip a bit. Or wait, is it? Oh shoot, yeah, turn the volume. Yeah, cool. This week, sort of a lot of stuff. Yes. Yeah.
Totally on purpose, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Good timing.
Yes, this one is a more rock-inspired song for sure. In the 2018 version, there's a guitar solo in the middle of it, and like Will Toledo sort of embraced that like more rock edge rather than like his indie lo-fi style. So it is like a sort of a different song, but like just imagine this song but like much better, and then that's what like I'm like referring to. I'm gonna skip a little. Actually, that's sort of like the gist of the song. Like it's more Car Seat Headrest. I've talked about them before, so it's sort of what you'd expect from him. There's of course like a bunch of vocal harmonies and like different parts that he puts together, and like at the end like all collide into like one huge like chorus sort of. But yeah, so for choosing like this album, I sort of agreed with you, George, in that like there needs to be a lot of variety in these albums to last me a while, or I guess the rest of my life. And
I'm not sure quite how long that would be.
Yeah. And you also really have to like them, but I think you took it a lot further than I did because you chose the White Album. I know you like the White Album, but is it one of your top Beatles ones, or I don't know how?
It might be top. Like I had Revolver on the Desert Island album list, but it's definitely the better album. Mm-hmm. But just I don't know if I could take that much experimental stuff. And also it's a pretty short album. It's like 15 minutes shorter than the White Album, I think. So
yeah,
that was one of the reasons.
I would say I sort of like was gearing my albums towards like which songs I liked more. And I think I told you yesterday when we were talking about this that I would choose one really great song over an entire mediocre album, going on to this like Desert Island. So this album, Twin Fantasy, is one of my favorites of all time. But it also has like sort of like the variety that you were talking about, where like there are songs like Sober to Death, which are like acoustic guitar ballads that build and build. Well, I guess all songs build, but like acoustic guitar ballads that are like a lot slower.
Stuff.
I know, right? Like building in the song, like well, crazy. But yeah, like it's like an acoustic ballad that's a lot slower and like I'd say a lot sadder than some of the songs like Cute Thing or Bodies, which are a lot more upbeat. So there's like good variety in it, and each song is like a song that I've like repeatedly gone back to, and that was also an important thing where, like, I was trying to look at albums that literally did not have a song that I didn't like, so that I could like see myself thinking like I really want to listen to this song and I can go to it and click and like listen to it through. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if I chose an album that I didn't care for that much, I couldn't do that with it, and I'd have to just like listen to it all the way through, and I didn't think it'd make an enjoyable like listening experience. So yeah, that was my thought process behind that.
Yeah, it's respectable.
Respectable. Okay, yeah.
And I guess I should mention on the White Album. The White Album has 2 garbage songs:
really?
Wild Honey Pie, straight garbage, and Revolution Number 9. I don't know if I'd be good enough to skip on vinyl. Presumably these are vinyl. Like,
well, we don't have to. Do we have to assume that? That'd be really inconvenient.
Yes, we have to.
Okay, that makes it a lot more annoying to skip songs, but yeah.
Anyway, it's like just bar those 2 songs, the whole White Album, I like all the songs enough that I would.
Yeah, there are like 20 songs on there. It's like 18 out of 20 is still like 90%.
4-sided album, so
yeah.
Hope there'd be enough. All right, so my next album, I've recommended a song off this before, but I'm recommending a different one this time. The album is Can't Wake Up by Shaky Graves. It's his most recent album, and the reason I chose it is this one has, well, I mean, it has a lot of variety within the album, but it's also like different from the other 2 albums that I'm going to recommend, because the other 2 albums came out between 1965 and 1968, whereas this one came out in 2018, and it's a very modern rock album. Like all the albums that I chose are rock or folk rock, but this one is so like, I think you'll hear it in the drums, the drum beat on the song that I'm going to recommend, but it's very different. Like even the strings have like a certain layer of like computer magic that I don't understand over them.
Computer magic, yeah.
Yeah, I'll play this one and you'll see how different it is from Martha My Dear.
Is Mansion Door on this album?
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
that's the one you're talking about.
There's like 4 like knock it out of the park songs on this album, and the rest of them are still like, because he's like a very like, I hope I know what this word means, like esoteric, like sort of like outside, like out of body kind of writer. Was like, you know, the Beatles write about a lot of things on the White Album are like stories, and then a lot of things on my next album are like introspective, like, you know, like self-portrait songs.
Sure, yeah.
But this album is a lot of like singing about like concepts. Like this one's about like aging. Well, you'll hear. Yeah, it's about like growing up and having to accept change and all that. Here it is. There it is.
I do really love the album cover.
That's a good album cover. Yeah. That obviously wasn't a big factor, but like also just like looking at this album cover would be.
So I guess you have the vinyl, so you have like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
All right. So yeah, I think you could tell just from that brief part that it's a lot different, not a lot more different, but it's different from the White Album. And yeah, I think the singer has a really good voice. He does like, also this album has a lot of like wall of sound songs. Like there's like, even in this song, like I didn't get to the part where it's like really dense, but there's like strings and there's like, I think 4 guitar parts. I don't know, it's hard to tell. And there's like, I think he has a bass player that plays like 2 different tracks, and like the drum, he's just going wild. So there's a lot to like, in the White Album, you can pretty much pick out every part and like, you know, like try to hum along or whatever, learn it, because, you know, not like got something better to do. But for this one, it'd be a lot of, like I couldn't pick out individual parts because there's just so much like stuff being thrown in your ears.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a good trait for some of these songs to have.
Like Rocky Raccoon, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Where it's like super bare. I think it's just like the guitar and then like the piano part in the middle.
I think Ringo plays the tambourine a little bit.
Okay. But yeah, it's just like each part is like, so it's like, it's a super bare song, but like it's still really good. But then this is, yeah, I can see how it's like completely different from that.
Yeah. All right. Over to you.
Anything else you want to say about Shaky Graves? Because I know you like him a lot.
I do like him a lot. I was trying to decide between this album and his first one and The War Came, but the first album is a lot more, not samey, but like it's all folk rock, or it's all either rock or folk rock, whereas this one has a lot of like folk rock. There's actually like a pretty heavy rock song. I forgot what it's called. It's like, no, I forgot the name. It's like Aerophobia or something like that. But the first one has a lot of good stuff on it, but there's just too much of like the same. So, like there's only like, I think he plays the acoustic and the electric on the first one, and like maybe there might be like 2 layers, but on this one there's like, he just goes buck wild.
Yeah, I will say, like you did say like the difference in genre, and you said the first one had rock and folk rock, and the second had rock, folk rock, and very rocky, but like yeah, I do get what you're saying. Like yeah, I'm sure it makes a big difference. I've heard some of this newer album just because you told me to listen to it, and I thought Mansion Door was pretty good, but I haven't heard the first one, so I wouldn't know how to like compare the two. Yeah. But I'll take your word for it. I think you know what you're talking about.
That's a nice. It's a good JV. Like backup album.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on those, or do you want to do that?
Yeah, we can just. You want to just run through them right now?
Yeah, you want to go first?
All right. Yeah. So it was obviously extremely difficult trying to narrow down like my entire musical like taste for the rest of my life into 3 albums.
You're such an intellectual. Like,
yeah, dude. It's just
must be difficult.
It's hard to contain this brain. But so the backups I have are What's the Story, Morning Glory. That's the Oasis album. I chose that because I think I remember there being a lot of variety. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't listened to this album in a while, but it has. I really like Wonderwall. I know that might be illegal to say, but I really like Wonderwall. Don't Wake Up or Don't Look Back in Anger, Champagne Supernova. Really like those 3 songs, and the rest of them are all good. And they're all like long songs. It's a long album. That's good. I'm gonna try and go through this faster. Revolver, super fantastic. And the War Came. I talked about that. Super good.
You have to literally speak faster, but just like cut down the words that you're saying.
That's probably smart as well. But I've sort of talked about those 2 already. And then I have Whatever People Say I Am. That's What I'm Not. That's technically the first Arctic Monkeys album, and I think it has a few like really great songs. Like my favorite off of that is Marty Bum, but I didn't want to pick it just because it's not like I don't have a lot of emotional association with that album, so I didn't think the songs were good enough to overcome that. And then I have Blood on the Tracks, solid album. A Night at the Opera by Queen, which is also good. It has like 2 or 3 really good songs, but like most Queen albums, 2 or 3 really good songs, and then the rest is just like could not listen to that for more than 21 years or whatever this theoretical is. And then finally I have Abbey Road, which you will hear more about shortly.
Yeah, of course. For mine, so the first 2 that I chose were Kid A and OK Computer. They're both by Radiohead, but I sort of like redacted Kid A because although I really like the album, it's very experimental and a lot of it's just like sounds, like not even just like instruments and music. It's just like there's no real like structure to them. And if I'm thinking of like living on this island, like not having anything to listen to, I'd want slightly more pleasant music or music that I can get more into than just like Kid A, where it's just like really depressing and like.
Yeah, if that can like mess you up, like when you're in your room with headphones, imagine what that's going to do.
I know, like completely isolated. Like, yeah, you're going to lose your mind. But I did keep OK Computer because I felt like there was a lot more structure to the music. It was a lot more like grounded in like the rock like roots, which they had previously like. That's how they like their style of music. That was how it was in like the '90s. So they kind of kept that in OK Computer. But also there are songs like Karma Police and the main Paranoid Android. Like those like sort of hits that are just like really catchy songs and also like really heavy rock. And they're songs that like I can get into and get invested in. Or I'm talking too much about this. Whoops. Okay. Let's see. Teens of Style by Car Seat Headrest. Really good album, but I didn't put it on like my main 3 because there were some songs that I thought were like not subpar, but maybe not as good as some other ones. And overall, I thought Twin Fantasy was better. Blonde by Frank Ocean. Just really great album overall. Telephone by No Name. She's sort of indie. She's like a R&B rap type person, and it's a really great album, but it's only 30 minutes long. And then Wide Awake by Parquet Courts. This is an album that I probably was going to put on there, but then George, you sort of convinced me out of it when you were talking about how you wouldn't want like certain genres in your island or like your desert island music.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like punk rock, and I don't know if I could like jam out like that for that long.
Yeah, you can only headbang for so many months before it takes a toll, and also on your ears.
Right. So those are my honorable mentions. Is it my turn to do Abbey Road?
Yeah, you're up to.
Okay, cool. So all right. So yeah, second album, Abbey Road. This is just overall and like pretty much it's an amazing album. I chose it over pretty much every other every other Beatles album. It's hard to say.
What's the word?
Oh yeah, Beatles. We keep saying the word variety, but during this time, the Beatles were sort of like splitting off, going in their own directions, and they were writing like sort of more solo work, and like something that's written pretty much completely by George Harrison. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure "Oh Darling" was like Paul McCartney. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like at this point in time, they were like really like being a lot more diversified in their music. And like Revolver, like even though like everything's like really different, it still like fits like one cohesive like style.
Yeah. But I still like the Beatles as opposed to like Paul and John and George.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like Abbey Road like has like that sort of variety, and like there are songs on there like I said something. I'm going blank.
Probably a few others.
Golden Slumbers. What's it called? What was that Ringo Starr song?
Oh, Octopus's Garden.
Octopus's Garden, like
banger.
Exactly. Like imagine like being on a desert island and listen to Octopus's Garden. Like it'll put you in a much better mood.
You're right. I hadn't considered that actually.
Exactly. So like, and it's like there are some songs that are sadder, but some that are more upbeat also. And I think just like that sort of like shift in music that it gives me the option to like either be like really depressed one day, but also maybe like try to feel a bit better that I'm on this island alone with no one with me. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Abbey Road. Great album.
Yeah.
The song? Oh shoot!
Yeah,
I didn't play the. Dang. Okay.
I mean, we don't have to.
I just want to play it because it's just a great song. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys probably already know it. It's Something by George Harrison. I think you've recommended this. Have you?
Not Something specifically.
Is it not playing?
I must do that thing.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, this song, just like, this song on its own is already like great to take on an island.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's part of a package of something that like has a lot more to offer.
Yeah, like if I were to take like a desert island mixtape, this would definitely be on it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think an important part of like this like desert island thing is like staying connected to like humanity and stuff, and then just feeling those strong emotions to songs. Like, although I love music that you can just kind of play in the background just so you won't like get bored. Like there are some songs that really make you feel a certain way, and this like has a lot of emotional like investment in it. So yeah, I would say it's a really good choice for it. But yeah. Do you want to go ahead and talk about your third?
Yeah, so my third album, I'm just going to say it right off the bat and then talk about it. It's Bringing It All Back Home by Bob Dylan. So whereas the first two were a lot of, well, obviously like pretty much the entire White Album is about love, which now that I think about it, that might be like
sad.
Really grating.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Can't Wait to Die Alone, like 100% for sure.
Yeah.
But, and then Can't Wake Up has like a few love songs. But this one is all about like the typical Bob Dylan, like, self-portrait, like introspective analysis of his life. And Bob Dylan, obviously, I think the Beatles are like probably like some of the greatest like melody creators. I'm gonna say I think they're the best melody creators like in music.
You're just gonna come and say
Phew,
it.
I know
That's a hot take.
Hope they don't shoot me down. But and then Can't Wake Up. It has really good lyrics and it also has some really good melodies. But I think nobody can match Bob Dylan for like lyrical depth because like his songs probably aren't gonna sound as good. But like when I listen to them, I can be like feel smart, I guess. I don't know. Like I'll have a lot more to look into in a Bob Dylan song than
like repeated listens is something you could definitely do with his songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be like I think he sings about loneliness a lot, which would either be awesome or really terrible.
I think it's neither, but it'd be helpful for sure.
Yeah. Or like
it's more of a positive like thing.
Yeah. Or I guess it's sort of like having someone with you, I guess, because like you can sort of like basically get to know him through the album or like how he was feeling in that specific time frame.
Yeah, and I would say you just said the White Album is a lot about love, so I think that'd be a good balance because you don't have to like listen to the only one album. Like you have both for reasons to like complement each other. So yeah.
All right, and then I chose this song, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about it afterwards. I don't know why. I remember a few episodes ago we were talking about Car Seat Headrest, and we said like Will Toledo like writes incredible songs, but then like when he's in the studio he has to like try and like catch up to like because you remember you were talking about that one riff how like
it
was a really good riff.
It was a high melody, right? Isn't that what we're talking about?
No, it was Bodies, and like you were talking about how like he had to like put like 6 layers on the guitar.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Because like it couldn't sound the way it did in his head, and I think Bob Dylan has like the exact opposite problem because he writes the kind of songs that he's like perfect at creating. Because like Mr. Tambourine Man, like Bob Dylan, his voice it's not bad, but it's like I don't know. Anyway, he has a good voice, but like he can't like hit high notes, and so in order to like draw emotion out, because like even in the first like Hey Mr. Tam, he didn't hit a high note, but like the way he sung, really like he has to find other ways to like draw emotions out of the audience. And I think he got really good at that the more he wrote. And this was like, it was only like 6 years after he started playing. But I think this is my favorite album of his, and I think it just shows everything that he's good at, and it would really help me get through the thing.
Yeah,
Desert Island. That's what I was looking for.
I will say though, like the more we talk about this,
wow, that is an incredible turnaround.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep going as if we didn't get that message.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, if you guys are even watching, we might have been taken down, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called? Yeah. So like, no matter what, like you were saying, the Bob Dylan song, "Hey Mr. Tambourine," "Hey Mr. Tambourine Man" is a perfect song. Like at the end of the day, sort of. And I was thinking, like, yeah, that'd be a good, like, the first day on that island, like, listening to that song, I'd be like, you know what, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
47th day. Yeah. I don't know if it's gonna have the same effect. I think no matter what, we're definitely screwed.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna keep going. We're just gonna stay positive here. Because like the last song or the last album I chose actually has a lot more of an uplifting spirit than the Twin Fantasy record. So this album is called Illinois, and it's by Sufjan Stevens. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and by that I mean he doesn't play like 3 or 4 instruments. He plays over 20 of them.
He's flex.
It's literally just a major flex on everyone. Like he like writes songs, but I think a better word to say would be like composing them, because he like there's so many different parts in his songs that he's playing completely and he's creating completely. So like I'm thinking of like when I think of like great like artists like the Beatles and stuff like that, like they were so talented in creating these songs, but at the end of the day they would have to like get an orchestra and tell them what to play, and they had a vision. So I would say that's still like really amazing, but they got someone to play it. But with Sufjan, he just like he does all of it himself, which is insane to me. I don't know how you can learn that many instruments. Like the dude was, when he wrote this album, me and George were looking at this, he was 29, so he was definitely like he wasn't super young or anything. Like he's had time to like learn instruments, but that's still insane to me that you could learn that many and be that proficient at those instruments and be able to create these songs and compose them at that even at that age.
Yeah, people could get amazing at guitar in like 11 years and amazing at drums in like 11 years, but he did like he got good at like 30 things. Like, he must have spent like 6 months on each to get
exactly.
Perfect
Yeah, he's just like cycling through them. I'm gonna go ahead and play this song. It's called Chicago, and I'm gonna play part of the beginning and then part of the end of it, just so you get context as to how it progresses, because it's a 6-minute song. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start that.
But he doesn't sing the backup vocals.
He doesn't what?
He doesn't sing the backup vocals.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's all right. This is one weakness.
Total
backup
fake.
vocals can't do it. Like lead,
Achilles
sure,
heel.
definitely. Backup, no, no way. Yeah, you can already hear sort of like the strings and stuff like that. It's not just like a rock album where he's like playing like drums and bass or something. He's like flexing his muscles right now.
Oh, he's going wild.
His musical muscles are just
Drove to Chicago. All things known.
I'm gonna let it kick back in. Like, yeah, they come in, and that sort of like riff gets repeated throughout the whole song. But I'm gonna skip a little bit into the later portion where everything's sort of.
I think this is also that kind of wall of sounds.
Yeah, where like there's so many instruments going like playing at one time. You don't really know like exactly what is making what noise. That's why I'm having trouble like describing sort of what's happening. 'Cause, like I'm hearing what you're hearing. Like I'm sure people who are like in actual band like will know what's happening. Like right now he's like there's like a horn on top of like all the things that were already happening, and the drums, and you know it's like everything's building on itself. Again, yeah, don't know what's happening. Sounds awesome though. So yeah, I'm gonna pause it now. It's a really great song. I love how like long it is and how hopeful it sounds, as opposed to Twin Fantasy, which is generally a more like, I wouldn't say nihilistic, but just sort of like it's more depressing, I guess. It's a sadder album. Abbey Road, they have some upbeat songs, but there's also like some sadder ones. This whole album is just like in that same sort of style of music. The strings and the orchestra and everything, that it gives it that like sort of uplifting feeling, and it like I love how it can continue throughout. So that, or I should say, this is the one where I took like George's advice for length, because it's I think 20 songs and it's like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that.
That'd be good.
So there's like a lot to go through. It's like if I'm sitting through it and like listening to the whole thing, it'll last me a lot longer than the other 2 albums. I think if you add up the length of the other 2, it would be this album. So yeah. But yeah, what was I was just saying about like the mood change, because you sort of had a balance with Bob Dylan and the Beatles. So my balance, I guess, is with Sufjan Stevens and I guess Car Seat Headrest, sort of.
Yeah.
And like as opposed to other songs where I think in every Car Seat Headrest song I've had like an emotional attachment to it, and it's like something that I can like listen to repeatedly and gone back to. With this album, there are a few that are like that. For like this song for sure, it's called Chicago. But the others are just songs that you can play in the background, and it just like is like a nice feeling to listen to, and it gives you a nice feeling, and it's a perfect it's the perfect type of music for the environment that I'm in. So, yeah, that was Sufjan Stevens.
And that is all the albums.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
should we give like closing thoughts?
yeah, go for it. Closing thoughts about like your albums.
So these are all 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 albums made by like some incredible artists, and I think there's enough variety of like emotion behind the song as well as like sound of the song that obviously you don't want to like play to a mood when you're on a desert island. You sort of want to like put yourself in a mood, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I think obviously music is like incredible at that. So I think these 3 albums especially would be great at like helping me keep like my state of mind pretty constant, and then also like being able to hear some really good music.
I would say this is like a rare moment where we just like agree on something.
Mark this down.
I know it's crazy, but yeah, I would just say like that's a perfect way to end it off. So
Awesome.
yeah, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll see you all next time. So, yep.
See y'all then.